Hello, everyone. Today is January 9th, 2025. And this is the first meeting of Kubernetes SIG storage in 2025. Hope everyone had a great holiday break. Happy New Year. So today we will start 1.33 planning. There is a PR that's not merged yet, submitted for this proposed 1.33 release cycle. So we'll just use this for now. So the basically next Monday, release cycle formally starts, and the enhancement freeze is February 13th. PRR freeze is February 6th, and then and the GA is actually March 6th. So between enhancement freeze and GA, there is just like less than a month. Okay, so now we can look at the spreadsheet. So I just copied this from 1.32, and then there were a couple of items added at the bottom. If you have any feature that you want to target for 1.33, please pin one of the leads to get it added. All right. So let's look at the first one. So this one, recovering from resize failure, moved it to beta in 1.32. Are we doing anything for this release? Come on.
We'll be just cleaning up some code. I want to add some more end-to-end tests for quota handling, like the quota is removed when you use the expand and given back. So all that works. It's just that I want to, yeah.
So really we don't need to track it.
I don't think we need to track it.
Okay, let me just cross this out for now. Okay. And second one, warning group snapshot. This one we moved to beta. So I think we will just continue to work on that. We will not be moved to a new phase yet. So I will also cross this out.
Do we want to enable it by default though?
Oh, I thought that one we also have to wait for that one. How long do we do we want to just like after one release, can we enable that by default?
We don't enable beta APIs.
Never, okay.
Is it? I remember Michelle says it. I don't know if Michelle's there. I thought we just, after this is just a GA, right?
Yeah, if it is enabled by default, it's GA.
Then it's GA. Okay, so it's basically just we don't really have like two more phases. We just have one phase, which is GA. Okay, so then we have to wait a little longer. Okay, of course, if we change our mind, we can bring this back. So next on volume health, we are considering moving to beta. I think this one we still need some discussion. So, okay, so let me cross it out for now because I think we need to discuss this before we actually decide what to do.
Xing, can you also reset column B and C?
I'm sorry, B and C? What?
Yeah, I guess the first two got crossed out.
This is down, okay.
I mean, I guess the first two are crossed out, so we're okay. I guess for the next one that's actually going to be set, let's go ahead and reset it. For these two, it doesn't apply.
Okay, is this okay? You want me to change this?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you can leave that as is.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so next one, change block tracking. So this one is still ongoing, I think. Folks are still working on trying to get the first release. So, so this one, so I think we're still targeting alpha. So I think this is okay. We'll just leave them like this. Next one, enable privileged containers for Windows to replace CSR proxy. So what is the status for this one? What are we going to do? what are we going to do in 1.33? The same or?
I think that there was some interest from Alibaba to get to use to basically enable the functionality for this on their side. And I think from the AWS side, we do want to see it eventually move to beta. I don't know if it will happen in this release or not, but it would be nice if we
Okay.
could.
Okay. So this one, it says design and alpha. So is this already alpha? I'm a bit confused with this feature.
So yeah, just want to clarify this point. This is not really tied to any Kubernetes release. I think this is referring to
right.
the
It's basically like we can say which phase, but which phase we are considering it to be right now, because was from last time. It says design and talking alpha. So what do we say this is right now? It's already alpha, do we say?
Yeah, so it's currently alpha and we're trying to graduate it to beta, but the requirements is that we need multiple drivers to support this, and currently only, I believe, the AWS EBS CSI driver does, and we need another driver to support it, and Alibaba CSI driver was interested.
Yeah. So we are also interested, but I'm not sure exactly when. I can add. So interested.
So would there be a specific release related action that would need to be taken in order to do something so
I'm not sure that's the part. I'm not, I have not been following this one. I'm not really sure. Is this, so are there some changes in the CSI proxy repo, or what the common changes for this one?
Yeah, so there's a separate branch where we're, instead of using the existing implementation, we're using the underlying Windows calls.
Yeah, but that's in your driver, right? I guess one thing I'm not quite sure is, are there any changes in the CSI proxy repo for this, or is that really not needed?
Yes, in the CSI proxy repo, there's a separate branch where this implementation currently lies, and that's where we create releases for this.
Okay, so that means it's a separate branch, and then there is a release from that branch?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So it's more, it sounds like if we want to move this beta, we just cut another release, and then maybe in the release notes, we say this is beta, right? Or that's what we need to do in the CSI proxy repo.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no feature gate, right?
Yeah, I think eventually we may want that to be a default, but that seems like it's still some time away. So.
Okay, so next one, secure Linux relabeling. Right, Yang, do you want to do anything for this?
Yes, I would like to graduate at least something to beta.
So, okay, I actually lost track. I thought, is there something already in beta?
Yes, yes. We have 3 feature gates now. One of them is beta and 2 are alpha. So at least one of these alphas, I would like to graduate to beta, maybe both.
I thought we have 2 rows. Somehow we only have 1. Okay, I thought we checked them separately. Now, okay, so you're saying you want to plan to move to beta. So this is the pre-write ones part, or this is the general one? Which one? This general one?
The general one. It's a Linux mount.
Okay, the general one. The other one basically stay in beta, right? Okay. Thank you.
So beta and enable by default, or
probably, well, one of them introduces a breaking change that will stay disabled by default, but the other one allows opt-out from the breaking change, and that will be probably enabled by default, so people can can opt out proactively before breaking things happens.
So the policy feature kit will be beta enabled by default.
Probably. That's my plan internally. I need to update the cap and run it by some reviews.
Cool.
Thank you. Let's see. Okay, then next one. Okay, so VAC. So this one looks like we have some discussions, right? So do we want to talk about this later? I know that is Sunny here?
Yes.
Oh, so I know you added item. Looks like that one probably needs some time to discuss. So do we want to hold on and we can talk about this one and get there?
Yeah, I think it depends on what we discussed. It may change.
Okay. Thank you. So next one, okay, so next one, I think this is done. Auto delete PVC will stay for set, right? This is, because this is already done, so I think we can remove this. I don't think there's anything more. Yeah. Oh, so how come, oh, okay, we need to strap through the whole thing. All right, we can just remove that. Okay, then the next one, CSS sidecars all in one.
Yeah, I don't think there has been any major update. I know that folks are working on the KEP and
no major update. I see. Okay.
yeah.
We're working on a KEP, but it's unlikely to change status in 133.
Okay. Thank you. And next one, remove dynamic provisioning support on host bus entry volume plugin. Is Calorie here? So I believe this one we're waiting for the Portworx driver to be removed first. So probably we still need to hold off. So Portworx will be moving to GA in 1.33, but then we need to wait until that's removed, I think. Then that's what, 1.36? Okay, next one, remove keyword in entry plugin. So this one looks like Tim. Oh, I thought I changed this one. Maybe I changed it the wrong one. Okay, I copied. No, okay, I don't know why that. I thought I added this. So I think team is going to work with someone on this. There should be CAP coming. That's my understanding. I see that they have a Google Doc and there's some updates there recently. So I think that's ongoing. So team is working this. There's another. Next one, mutable CSN node allocatable property.
Yeah, so I've also added it to the agenda under PRs to review, but yeah, so I've addressed all the feedback that we've received on the CAP. We also got PRR approval from David, and I believe the overall sentiment is that we're good to proceed to implementable. I reached out to you, Xing, mentioned to get approval from Michelle. I don't think she's here today. I did reach out to her. I haven't received a response.
Okay. So we can target alpha, right? Because looks like
Yeah.
in good shape. Okay.
Yeah, so we're targeting alpha for 133, but we need to get it marked as implementable. And I think we need Michelle's approval for that. That's
She's in some summit today, but like she should be free this afternoon. You can try again.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for letting me know, Sunny. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next one's Cozy overall move to with an alpha 2. So this one is still ongoing. So Boeing and Matthews, they're still working on this. So this is ongoing progress. Next one, storage capacity scoring. So I think this will continue. I can check with the author. He has an implementation, but I think he didn't have time to address the comments before code freeze. So I'll check. Oh, here. So yeah, this is the second one. It's here. Okay, so
I see.
what are we doing with this one? What do we have any this?
I see. So this one is about
This is the red one's part. This is the here. Looks like this is something that we added this notes last time. Do you want to change this to off by default in 1.33? Looks like we have a note last time.
Yep.
Okay, so is this a plan?
Yes. So the first one at line 7.
That's the general one. We plan to move from alpha to beta.
And
this
16 is the
this is already
this is enabled by default already. So
it's enabled by default already. Oh
yeah.
Okay. I don't know why. Okay. Okay. So then, do we have any action items? So it's already.
I'm just keep track of it, but that will be it. I don't plan any changes there.
Okay. Keep beta. So no.
But it is on by default, so I'm changing it to be on by default.
I'm sorry?
The line 16, it's on by default, I believe.
It's already on by default. Okay, so then we can cross this out. We don't have any action.
Okay, we can cross this out.
Okay.
Fine.
All right, thank you. And next one, for expansion for stateful sets. So this one, do we have a? I think it's Xing, right? So she's not here, so I'm not sure if there's any update on this one. I believe this was in discussion with SIGAPS last time. So leave this one for now. And next one is, so this add option to disable 6-minute force detach timer. So we made a decision last time to not change the default. So we saying this item is just, we don't have any further actions, right? We don't need to do anything with this. We just leave it. That's it, right? Or do we have any other follow-ups for this ban? Do you know?
Sorry, I got distracted. What was the question?
Oh, we're just saying this one. Remember we talked about this one.
Hold on, I don't have my screen.
Oh, so the 6-minute force detach thing. We disabled it. We are saying we don't change default in 1.32, but is the plan so we don't have further action items?
We had the discussion a month or so back about a concern that if we ever were to change, like to force people to opt into this new feature, that it could break something, and people weren't comfortable with that.
Okay.
I mean, so as long as there is a way to opt out of it and get the correct behavior, that sort of meets my minimum need.
Okay.
I think it's still debatable whether we want to keep the default to be broken, but I agree that like the risk of changing behavior is something we should take very seriously. So if there's any concern that we could break someone's current workflow, it's probably safer to leave things the way they are.
Okay. So do we still need to track this, or can we just maybe we just keep it like this, or do we want to just remove this?
We could resolve that this is as far as we're going to take the feature. We're going to leave it to default.
So then we can just remove this. We don't have to track it every time then? I
guess so.
Okay.
Yeah, and if someone wants to bring it back, they can bring it back.
Yeah, we can still bring it back. Okay, so let me just delete this row. So, okay, so this next one, voting populator. Sunny, do you know, is there any plan to do anything for this? To bring
Yeah, we are trying to work through the GA tasks right now.
Okay. Move to GA. Do we target in GA or no? Do we?
We are targeting GA.
I'm sorry?
We are targeting GA.
Okay. That's so just started. I know you have already added some things to do before moving to GA, right? So move to GA. I'm targeting that. Oops. Thank you. And next one, CSM migration Portworx. So yeah, Portworx, they already have someone have the cap updated, the cap is merged, and then there was a PR out. I think the PR also mostly looks good, but I think there were some CI issues though. So I think this one is good to move to GA. Oh, how come we have another one here? Remove. I thought we talked about this already. Sad, do we need 2 entries for this Git repo? I see we have one here, one here. I don't know why we have 2 entries.
Let's see.
We have 2 Git repo. One is here. We talked about announcement, but I think we can track it.
I guess one is announcement and the other is the actual removal. And
okay.
So I think they're slightly different.
Okay, so I think so this is I thought I changed something. Okay, so here I added this other person who's working with Tim. Okay, so we'll have both.
Got it.
Maybe we'll just see what is there. I think they are working on some cap, and there's a Google Doc. We'll see what they're doing, and then we can decide.
I guess, do we still need the official announcement about removal if we're going to keep it? It sounds like they're going to keep it, right?
Yeah, so because they don't want us to announce that, right? We actually removed this announcement from the release blog for 1.32. This team says we can't just remove it. So we will just wait for their cap, and then we'll decide what to do, whether we need some announcement or what.
Sounds good. Can you group these two together? Just slide them together.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh, this up. Let's see. There's a what on that? So where's the sound? Okay, I'll do that later. I'll just move this.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll just say this one started. This is already a progress document. Next one, always owner reclaim policy. So this one I asked Deepak to take a look and see if we can move it to GA. So I don't, Yang, do you remember if there was any issue for this?
No, I think it was fine.
Considering. Okay, so this is the last item. This is the new one. So Hemant, you added this one, right? You want to talk about this? This is autoscaler. Okay. Hemant, I don't know if you're talking. You are on mute.
Oops, sorry.
All right.
Yeah, so I was saying that this is a long-standing issue that when a new node is added via cluster autoscaler, it may have like more pods scheduled to it than it can handle because there's no limit reported yet from the node, and the scheduler doesn't know that it can only handle n number of volumes. So this is, and then users have to typically go delete the pod and all sort of things. So this issue is this feature is trying to resolve that.
Okay.
In this quarter, I'm mainly want to design this. I also want to understand how something like Carpenter, apart from the cluster autoscaler, will work with it. So yeah, and me and Jonathan will be working on this. So yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so that's all we have on this spreadsheet.
One quick comment. So Hemant, for something like this, we have also been looking internally at trying to figure out how Carpenter can become a little bit more intelligent in terms of volume limits. Eddie is working on the cap, as you're aware, for fixing some of the challenges associated with the volume limits. I think it would be great if we can also work with you folks on trying to figure out what the upstream solution should be like.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah, I will. Maybe once I have some design, I'll set up a rough idea. I'll set up some call with Eddie and other interested folks about this.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Also be interested, Drew here. I was adding some stateful workload aware logic to Carpenter a few months ago. So I've got a pretty good mental model of that. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you. Okay, so are there anything? Okay, just see those notes. So, oh, you're just, this is just some document now. When we take it off by default, that's okay, I see that. Tracking volume public. Sunny, you're asking if there was already an enhancement issue?
Oh, you already answered. You put the volume populator to GA now.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. All right, so that's all we have on this spreadsheet. If you have anything else, please let us know. We can get them added. Okay, so now we have a few items here. So the first one, Eddie.
Yep, so this is for the cap. I think we already discussed it as part of the so we can move forward.
Okay, all right. Okay, so that's the next two are added by Sunny. Sunny, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so like we discussed yesterday in the SIG storage meeting that we need more discussion of the node modify volume. Yeah, so right now the situation is that only the GKE stateful team has a use case. It makes this tricky. There are a few options we have to support node modify volume. And right now it's just like the first question I have, if there is only one provider that needs this feature, and do we want to add this support as part of controller modify volume? And then like what happens if we start a new API later to support this? Like I just want to know where people's heads at.
Sorry, Sunny, I was not part of the meeting yesterday, so I don't really have the full context on this. Could you talk a little bit about what is the problem that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, so we are trying to push controller modify volume to GA, and right now GCP has a use case. We also want to do node modify volume.
I guess also there's a question of the relationship between node modify volume and controller modify volume. It looks like there are like two use cases. One is they're together, and the other one is they're separate. So I guess that part I'm also still not quite clear. It looks like you also have two use cases.
Yes, we have two use cases. The first use case that the node modify volume will depend on controller modify volume. Basically, it's like for a resize operation, we also need to update the IOPS of the volume. And
updating the IOPS in response to a resize would be a controller side operation, right? The node would not be involved with that. It's the reverse case where if you want to modify the IOPS and that forces a resize, and you want to resize the file system on a running workload, then you need to invoke the node somehow.
Yes. So right now, like our solution is to change the IOPS while the controller expand volume. So this case is not trivia in our use case.
So I haven't looked at the whole discussion yet, but I think one of the challenges with the node modify volume capability is that typically from an access perspective, it's not straightforward to have the node or to give the node all the permissions that are needed to implement those operations. It's considered to be against security best practices to allow those operations on the node from the node perspective. So at least based on the limited understanding that I have, I think if we allow this, it would seem to go against that that particular model from a security perspective.
But like we're doing that for resize right now. So how did the resize clear the security?
Well, all resize does is do the FS resize of an attached workload, and reconciling that turns out to be very, very challenging.
Yeah, our use case is to change a LVM cache size on the node.
Yeah. So yeah, if there is a use case that can't be addressed with the node expand volume, or you really have to do something on a node with an attached workload, then a node modify volume does seem like the right way to do that. And the caution that I would present is that when we did expand, and I don't know if Hemant is here and wants to talk about this, it's so hard to reconcile the node part of this and deal with all the corner cases and all the error conditions. It could turn into a pretty big project. And that should incentivize us to look for other ways to solve the problem.
Yeah, and the other part of this is that we we've already done a fair amount of work in getting the feature to beta. If this is going to be like a substantial change in the existing implementation, there are a lot of folks who are interested in the modify volume support through back. We will basically have to tell those folks that this is going to take a lot longer. I don't think that would be a very that's not going to be an easy conversation with customers.
Like nobody's removing controller modify volume. It will be
the question is, will it affect the timeline for GA? Did we phase the availability of expands and have the core expansion functionality GA while we were still tinkering with some of its details?
Like we always counted with node expand because you need to resize the file systems.
Yeah. For expansion, the node part was part of the original design. So yeah, the worry here is if we change the original design, can we continue controller modify volume onto the GA path, or do we have to go back to alpha and rebuild it all and then go to beta and then go to GA? And will that slow down everybody else who wants to just use the controller modify path?
If we are confident that the controller modify stays as it is and all the drivers that will implement only control modify won't need any change, then I think we are fine. We can graduate them at different speed.
We'll need API changes in core Kubernetes object to support this. If we are to do this, we'll have to track status, like how we had to track status for resizing, so that we know that okay, it is safe to do node modify volume, controller modify volume is done. And it has quota implication too. So that's kind of worries me that it will actually affect the feature that we have GA'd. So
yeah, it seems prudent to say that if we did decide to do node modify volume because it was valuable enough, that would put a hold on the progress of controller modify volume.
We would definitely need API changes, and yeah, like.
But it's better to do that now when it's beta, if we're ultimately going to do it, than wait for the whole thing to go GA and then come back and say, oh, just kidding, we're going to change the design again.
I think we should write a document. What are the use cases? So there are two use cases. That one that kind of requires this feature, like where you to do like change IOPS, you must change the size of the volume. So there is some operation must happen on the node, otherwise all the capacity is unused. So that's a use case. That's a valid use case. Then there's another use case like.
Well, hold on. I'm not convinced that's a valid use case. My opinion is if you have to resize the volume to get the extra IOPS, like you can do that on the controller side and just not do it on the node side because the user didn't ask for more space. And then if they want to use the extra space, they can still call expand volume and get the space, and everything will work fine. I'm not convinced that's a valid reason for this. If there are other things you need to do other than resizing the file system on the node, like this LV cache size modification, that argues for like, yeah, you need a way to do that, and we should figure it out.
Is this something that, for want of a better word, we missed in the original design, or is this a new use case that we just didn't envision would come through?
It's a new use case.
Yeah, well, I feel like we considered when we were doing volume attribute classes, like, are these just node side, are these just controller side, or are they controller and node? And we managed to convince ourselves at that time that we only needed controller side, and that limiting it as such would make it easier to do. But yeah, so we didn't see a use case like this at that time. And if we had, we might have said, okay, we should do the whole controller and node thing, just like expand, and buy all the extra complexity.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hemant, one question for you. You mentioned this would require API changes. Is there a way to do it so that we leave the existing APIs untouched, move forward with the controller part of the cap, with the VAC cap, let it go to GA, and then have this be implemented through like a separate API as a part of a follow-on cap or something?
Yeah, that's my second question. Can we just add a node modification required and set it to false? And then
So
if you
we're
want to
still,
leverage the VAC as the primitive that drives it, then they probably need to be blended together. If you want to invent an entirely new mechanism, then maybe not.
so we're still dealing with, so there's a like resizing has a corner case that we are dealing with, where like a driver returns false, that there is no node side expansion is needed. But there's a race condition where like on the kubelet side, it sees that, okay, PV is updated and PV is updated. That means whatever in control plane had to happen has happened, and it tries to expand where there is no node side expansion needed. We try to, so it's like it will bring all these edge cases actually in picture when you're trying to say that, okay, certain drivers, like if a driver has both the capabilities, sometimes for some cases it may not be needed. That
Well, it's worse than that, because you can have nodes attached to you can have volumes attached to more than one node at one time. And if someone were to mutate the VAC and you needed to do node side work and the volume was attached to like 2 or more nodes, reconciling which nodes have been updated and which nodes hadn't been updated would be super nasty.
Yeah, so I cannot say with full confidence that like controller modify volume can be isolated and we can GA it and it will not have any breaking effect on the node modify volume will not have any breaking effect on controller modify volume. There may be some edge cases that and race condition we may be introducing when we do this.
Got it.
And then the next question is, like what if we start a new API for node modify volume by controller or something like that, and leave controller modify volume separated?
Oh, you mean this? This
Well,
is
what would the Kubernetes
together?
side API look like?
You will still have a node modify volume by controller.
No, not the CSI, the Kubernetes level. What would you propose?
We'll still need to watch some changes in PVC with VAC or like some.
Okay, you would still want to key off the VAC as the thing that drives the change. So yeah, you would. The problem I see is you need a notion of which nodes, or basically at the attachment level, which attachments are still using the old VAC and which attachments have the new VAC. And the reconciler would have to go through all of the attachments and figure out which nodes need to call this API. And as Hemant said, if it becomes optional, you need to communicate that fact early enough that you don't have a race condition where kubelet thinks it has work to do when it doesn't. And it's just, you have to design a whole bunch of stuff at the Kubernetes layer. The CSI layer is easy, right? It looks just like expand. You have a node side RPC that kubelet can invoke. How you reconcile whether to call it or not and handle all the error conditions that can result is a Kubernetes problem that'll have to be solved in kubelet with lots of API changes and lots of logic. And that's where the difficulty comes from, I think.
Yeah, and kubelet doesn't have a code point to check for this. Like, where will kubelet call this? Kubelet is not tracking IOPS. Kubelet is doesn't know that it needs like to call node modify volume. So we'll have to somehow like maybe it can use the size itself as a this thing that, okay, the size of the volume has changed, so it needs to call. So all that stuff.
You would have to be looking at the VAC field of the PV, right? That's how it does for expand, right? It watches the size. So we would have to teach it to watch this, and there would have to be state somewhere so that it knew, okay, this node is done and this node isn't done, and this node tried it, but it had an error and we need to retry and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think based on what I'm hearing, it sounds to me like it might feel like it's an extension of what we are building as part of the controller modify volume, but the underlying implementation is going to be significantly more work and is going to require additional upstream work on the kubelet and the Kubernetes side in general in order to support this use case. So that to me feels like it's outside the scope of the current KEP, the way we are thinking of it, at least.
Well, if it uses the VAC as the trigger, then that's where the overlap comes from, right? If VACs are the generalized mechanism to mutate existing volumes.
But the flip side of that is if you don't use the VAC, then now you have two different mechanisms to do potentially similar operations where there might be some overlap, and then you have to that one doesn't end up overwriting what the other is doing.
Right. So I don't think we should use something other than the VAC. If we did this, the VAC is the right way to drive it. And because the VAC is used by both features, you can't separate the two features. They end up being tied together at some level, at the Kubernetes level, at least, if not at the CSI level.
Right.
Well, if you have something like node volume attributes class.
But we won't be able to use, since this feature requires like per volume tracking of a status, whether it has to happen on the node or not. VSC
per attachment.
Yeah, VSC will not be enough to track this. So we will need some new API, either in PVC or PV, or like that's the way I see it, or some new type. I don't know.
Dumb question. What is causing the need for the LVM cache to be, expanded? Can just increasing the IOPS, the size isn't changed, require that or no?
Yeah, because like there are multiple caches set up by LVM on the same node. And then, for example, for one workloads, it may want to increase the LVM size because the traffic or requirement changed.
Gotcha. Okay.
Is there any way to handle this in band or something so that Kubernetes doesn't have to be involved, where somehow the storage backend just notifies its clients like you should increase your cache size with like an in-band message? Because like that would make this so much easier.
How would that work? Right now, like we also want customers to give input, like they can decide the cache size.
No, I mean like you would go through the normal volume controller volume modify, tell the backend like increase something, and then the backend would just tell all of its connected clients, go increase your cache size, in their in-band communication, however the actual nodes are talking to the actual backend. Like just say, hey, have some control path there that says, asynchronous notification, you should increase your cache size. I'm just brainstorming like a less painful way to do this.
Yeah, I don't know if there is any way that we know of. We need to look into this.
Yeah. I mean, doing it in Kubernetes is going to be a heavy lift, and it's going to interfere with the existing volume attributes class controller modify volume feature going from beta to GA. So we got to sort of reach some kind of conclusion if we want to tackle this additional use case as part of the way volume attributes class work, then we have a lot of work to do. I mean, as I mentioned on Slack, Hemant has been working on Expand for something like 5 years, and this is tricky stuff.
No, anytime there's ordering like and between two components like kubelet, and and control plane is a tricky stuff. Like we are still fixing attach detach mount unmount issue because it's ordering issue. Like one operation has to happen after the other. Node publish can be called only after controller publish. Node unstage can be like so on and so forth. So anytime any of the CSI operations have this ordering things, it's complicated.
Okay, but like, what's the action item here next? So we should figure out if there is any way to do node modify independently.
If we want to do node modify and tie it to the VAC, then we need to like come up with a proposal that actually addresses all these issues and lay it out and have someone volunteer to do that work and figure out, what does that mean for, like after we see the API changes necessary, then we can decide should that affect the progress of controller modify volume going to GA or should we hold it back? Or we could say, let's do an entirely separate feature that doesn't overlap with volume attribute classes, like a node volume attribute class, which sounds super nasty, but whatever. That would be another path forward. Or just try to solve this outside of CSI and Kubernetes, some in-band solution, or that might be the shortest path to having something that actually works. Is to do it outside of Kubernetes.
Yeah, I think if we can get some clarity on what is the impact on volume attribute class related APIs as a result of this, I think that would be helpful, because if as a result of whatever doc that we write to analyze this, we can come to a conclusion that yes, the impact on the APIs is that it can be done in a way that doesn't impact the existing WAC APIs, then that's ideal. Maybe that may not be possible, but if the impact is minimal, then we can probably still live with that, and we can have this work be done separately. I mean, I think it feels like it would be a step in the wrong direction if we ended up saying that, okay, we're going to completely hold off on moving this feature to GA because we have this one use case that requires like a whole lot of extra effort on the Kubernetes side in order to implement it correctly. At least,
yeah, I agree. It would be bad to slow down delivery of the existing volume attributes class controller side modify feature.
So there was one more thing. So there's this long-standing issue of somebody wanted to implement like a deploy resizer in a distributed, what is it called? A distributed mode, where like resizer is running on every node rather than running on just control plane. So there was this issue of distributed resizing or something somebody opened. It was there since a while back. We never merged that patch because we already had node expand volume if you want to do something on the node. But will that help? Like if the external resizer is deployed in a distributed fashion on every node, then controller modify volume can be called on every node actually. Just a crazy idea. I'm just throwing it because
so you saying that PR is somebody already tested and it was working?
No, that was for volume expansion, not for controller modify volume. That was not for VAC. But there's a PR out for that adds a parameter called node deployment, where you can deploy it on the node actually. And yeah.
But okay.
But what problem does that solve? Is that for like local volumes where they have to be resized on the node because there is no controller, really?
Yeah, something like that. Actually, it's been a while since I met this guy in Kubecon also.
Yeah. Because the problem I see is like, yeah, I mean, yes, you could do an out-of-band solution where you write your own daemon set and it communicates outside of CSI, outside of Kubernetes that, these volumes need to have this change applied to them. And then it's just a question of broadcasting that information to all the nodes that need to know about it, and having the daemon set on those nodes figure out which volumes they need to twiddle. You could do that completely outside of, kubelet and CSI. I don't understand how it would help in this case, where you basically want the CSI driver to do the work, and because you want to integrate the node side mutations with the controller side mutations, and you basically need kubelet to drive that.
So, I thought that Sunny was saying kubelet need not be the only component that drives it. So it's like if we did deploy,
something has to reconcile the whole cluster, right? Because you don't know how many nodes the volume's attached to. Only Kubernetes knows which volumes are on which nodes.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, folks. I think we are out of time. So, Sunny, you want to maybe we can talk a little bit more.
I think
Monday's and this one, right? So I think if do you want to think more and see what are the possible impact on the APIs? Maybe have a write.
I
and come
should
back
write about.
and then we can come back and talk about this one. And then maybe this one, I don't know, maybe we can look at this and see what this one is. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we are running out of time today. We need to come back and make a decision on this.
Yeah, I would like to see maybe a Google Doc. We should start preparing and use cases and potential APIs that you're thinking, Sunny, like how to do this, like documented. Then we can have more useful discussion, I guess. I mean, more concrete.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. I think this one, we move this to next time then. We don't have time.
Yeah, we can discuss next Monday or something.
Okay. All right, then that's it for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.